Hello, it's Richard Wilson, coming to you from the Grand Cayman Island here in the Caribbean. I was here to speak at a conference 2 days ago and stuck around to record some videos for you. Today I want to talk about third-party marketing agreements and private placement agent agreements. If you don't know what third-party marketers or placement agents are, they are third-party independent companies or individuals who raise capital for fund management firms, investment funds of different types, and sometimes even wealth management firms and family offices. But typically, a placement agent or a third-party marketer is hired when a fund management team doesn't have the in-house expertise to raise capital, or they need help raising capital. And by hiring this third party, the hope is a lot more capital will be raised because this third party just focuses on raising capital. It's all they do all day long. They don't manage funds, they don't manage portfolio. All they care about is raising a lot of capital. So I want to talk about the agreements that go in place between the fund management firms typically and the placement agents or third-party marketers. There's a few things you should know up front. First of all, it's industry standard, at least in the long-only and hedge fund space, to pay that placement agent or third-party marketer 20% of management fees and 20% of performance fees in perpetuity for as long as that money stays invested. Perpetuity just means that the money keeps on being paid out to that capital raiser for as long as it stays invested. It's really important because if the money's only paid out the first year, then that capital raiser might be motivated to move the capital and on to the next investor relatively quickly. And if they do that, then it's really not going to help the assets under management of the fund management firm which hired the capital raiser. The next thing, which I see quite often, is that capital raisers, such as our own capital raising division, charge a monthly retainer for raising capital. They charge a monthly retainer for several different reasons. First of all, an investment fund that hires 2, 3, 4 capital raisers externally to raise capital for them is going to run into a lot of problems. They're going to run into branding problems, messaging problems, crossing communication ties, calling on the same investor twice in the same day, pitching different things to the same investor from supposedly the same company, acting as a third party of the fund management business. And really it's ideal if there's only one or at most two external capital raising firms or third-party marketers raising capital for a fund. The retainer makes sure that the fund management firm doesn't hire 20 capital raisers, and if they don't have a monthly retainer to pay, there's no downside in the short term to them doing so. So by charging the retainer, it kind of ensures they're not going to go around and hire a whole bunch of different capital raisers at the same time and make the capital raising job harder than it needs to be. The other reason the retainer is charged is so that the capital raiser doesn't have 20 fund managers they're representing. If somebody is paying you a retainer, you owe them attention every month. You owe them some focus and some progress every month. A capital raiser could represent 100 different funds and just not charge any of them retainers and just make money whenever it raises capital for any of those funds. That might be an okay deal for the capital raiser, but if you're a fund manager and you're hoping to raise a lot of capital, you're not going to get much attention if the person representing you represents 99 other clients. Right? So that's why it's important that a retainer is charged in both directions. It's very important. It's important to know that the number one reason capital raising agreements fall apart is mismanaged expectations and not clear communication of goals. Fund managers, especially if they're paying a retainer, they want results. They want capital raised in 6 to 9 months or less than 12 months. Capital raisers know it takes 12 months to 24 months to raise capital. And if you have to change strategies or update marketing materials, it might take 18 months, to 30 months or longer. So you need to be very patient in seeing results with capital raising, and that needs to be communicated in both directions up front. Otherwise, these contracts can fall apart very quickly. There's a couple other things I want to talk about related to these agreements. One that's really important is to make sure that if you're the capital raiser, you get protected on capital raised after you've left the fund. So if you're raising capital and the contract gets canceled for cause or without cause, there'd be different scenarios with those two situations, but you need to make sure that in at least one of those two situations that if you have spent 2 years raising capital and you leave, the month after you leave, if they raise $50 million from the contacts you've been generating, you should get credit for that. So there should be some trail of 3 or 6 or 12 months after you leave. If money comes in from one of the investors you were speaking with for the last couple of years, you get paid on those investors. That's really important. Another thing to look at is whether you're going to get paid for 5 years, 7 years, or in perpetuity, as I mentioned earlier. And another thing to look at early on in the contract is whether you're going to subcontract or partner with any other capital raisers. Have that written into the contract early on and disclose that early on, that it's a small possibility, and it'll really help you in the long term in being able to easily navigate those waters in case you go that way. Most people don't plan on doing that, but great opportunities can come up, and if it's not written into the contract and not communicated with the fund manager early on, then the opportunity might be missed and it might disrupt the relationship by bringing in another party. From the fund management perspective, make sure you bring up all of these issues with the capital raiser, and obviously every capital raising agreement is different, and it's just about what you negotiate with what you get. Typically, the more experienced the capital raiser, the more lucrative the deal is going to be for them, and the more lucrative terms they're going to want. That's natural, and the same for any type of business. And you'll know that someone doesn't have much experience and they're not very successful in capital raising if they're flexible in every part of the deal, and you get a great deal on a capital raiser and they get paid almost nothing. You know, that's bad. You probably don't want to work with that capital raiser. It says something about their level of experience and expertise. So I hope this video on capital raising terms, placement agent agreements, and third-party marketing agreements has been helpful and educational for you. This is Richard Wilson, coming from the Cayman Islands, and I'll see you again soon.